And joining me now is Senior Advisor to President Obama, Dan Pfeiffer. Dan, thanks so much for joining here.
Jake,
joining
us
here on the set. I want to play something from Ted Cruz's speech. You might have heard something about it earlier this week.
The complexity is so much. What it's causing more and more small businesses to do is just stay small. Just avoid Obamacare altogether, because they can't decipher the rules and regulations. So they know if they don't have 50 employees, they can get out from under it.
Obviously, you oppose defunding Obamacare, which is what Senator Cruz wanted to do. But let's talk about the idea of whether or not Obamacare is fully ready. We keep reading about these glitches, about the exchanges in different states and D.C. Just today, the Obama administration announced that certain small business exchanges will be delayed 1 month. The Obama administration delayed the employer mandate 1 year. Is it possible that this health care law is not yet ready?
No, we are absolutely ready. Here is our principle. Our principle is to make sure that it's done right. Where there are things we can improve, we look to improve them. Take the healthcare small business thing you're talking about this morning, which is that's not a delay of the exchange. It's if you on October 1, if you can talk to folks on the phone. The only thing that's being delayed is the website, and there's no deadline on the back end. So what we're making sure is the experience people have is the right experience. We're doing it in a time that makes sense.
It does seem odd, though, this healthcare bill that passed so long ago. The deadline October 1st. And now businesses, the website's not up. The businesses can fax it in as if this is like 1994. I mean, I guess the question is, can you understand why some people in the public might say, God, it doesn't sound like they have their act together?
Well, look, starting on October 1, people are going to be able to go to these marketplaces online, compare plans. They'll have access to plans they've never had before. And when people see that, they're going to see this is going to be a consumer experience unmatched by anything in government, but also in the private sector. The process for applying for affordable health care is going to be tremendous compared on its own, but also compared to what people are dealing with right now.
The president's approval ratings, according to a new poll out today from the New York Times and CBS News, are at 43%, the lowest since March 2012. Do you think Obamacare is part of the reason?
I don't spend a lot of time worrying about public polls.
You have your own internal polls that you worry about. Is that accurate?
Well, I think that, I put it this way, is that, look, our focus is on implementing this law, giving people access to affordable health care and making sure it works. I'm not worried about the politics of this today, tomorrow, 5 days from now. I don't care what the Gallup Daily Track says, the CNN poll. What we're worried about is 5 years from now, 10 years now, 15 years now, people who've never had access to health care have access to it. It has become part of the fabric of how we provide, part of the fabric of the social contract in this country.
Okay, well, let's talk about the policy and not the politics of it. President Obama said something this morning. I want to unpack it. Let's play a little of that.
They said that these rates would come in real high and everybody's premiums would be sky high, and it turns out, lo and behold, actually, the prices came in lower than we expected. They said this would be a disaster in terms of jobs. There's no widespread evidence that the Affordable Care Act is hurting jobs.
I think one of the issues here is that when this plan was being sold, it made it sound as though there wasn't going to be any sacrifice. Obviously, people who didn't have insurance and now are going to have insurance because states expanded Medicaid because of Obamacare, they are now better off because they now have some sort of health insurance. But individuals who had insurance in other ways might have to pay more to pay for them, or they might suffer in other ways. For example, in speaking of the effect on jobs that President Obama talked about, he very carefully said there was no widespread effect on jobs, but there are specific examples. UPS says Obamacare is raising costs. Home Depot, Trader Joe's, Securitas, that's the largest provider of security guards. I'm sure you read the story in today's Wall Street Journal. They're kicking part-time workers off their plans. SeaWorld is cutting part-time hours. It's hurting some people. Now, maybe overall you could make an argument, and I'm sure you would, that overall it's good, but how do you take issue with the fact that there are individual companies that are deciding to make full-time workers part-time workers, and that hurts them?
Well, I think let's compare what's happening now with what's been happening for 10 years, long before Obamacare was something was possible to be law. Is companies were dropping health insurance. The tens of millions of Americans have had their health insurance dropped, many of them in small businesses, because healthcare costs were skyrocketing. Since the passage of this law, the growth in healthcare costs has dramatically slowed.
It's still going up, but you're saying it's going up at a lower rate.
Historically lower rate.
Okay. Let's talk about the battle going on right now with Republicans. Obviously, well, first of all, what's going to happen? What's your take on what's going to happen? The House Republicans, is President Obama talking to Speaker Boehner at all about this government shutdown, which would come next week, October 1st?
Well, he spoke to the Speaker last week. We'll be in touch with congressional leaders going forward. But really, whether we shut down or not is a decision that is entirely within the hands of Speaker Boehner and the Republicans.
What if that instead? Okay, so the Senate passes a bill that funds the government until November, let's say, sends it back to the House. The House says, okay, we won't demand defunding Obamacare, but let's take away the tax on medical devices, or let's delay this provision of Obamacare, the individual mandate. Would President Obama be willing to sign that?
He would not be willing to sign it, and the Senate couldn't pass that. Speaker Boehner's job is to pass laws, not bills that have no chance of being law. If they include something that he knows for a fact cannot pass the Senate, then he's making a decision to shut down the government. That decision has consequences, and he will be, the House Republicans, because they, and it's important to remember, this is something Speaker Boehner said he thought was a bad idea until the Tea Party, at the behest of Ted Cruz, decided to demand this, and so now we're following this path that could lead to a shutdown, and even more dangerously, to a default in a few weeks.
Well, let's talk about the default, because the Treasury Secretary said it could be catastrophic if we defaulted on our debts. So why isn't President Obama negotiating as he had in the past? In the past, he negotiated on the debt ceiling. Now he's refusing to. If it's going to be catastrophic, why not get in there, roll up your sleeves, and try to negotiate?
Well, what the House Republicans are not asking for a negotiation. It's a negotiation if I'm trying to sell you my house and we are debating the price of it. It is not a negotiation if I show up at your house and say, give me everything inside or I'm going to burn it down. The Republicans have provided a laundry list of essentially ransom demands of things that were essentially the Romney agenda that was rejected by voters that they know can't pass in normal circumstances. They say, give us these things or we'll blow up the economy. We're not going to participate in that because that has dramatic consequences for how we govern going forward.
But you saw, and this is the final question, you saw today a new Bloomberg News poll indicating that the American people support, by a 2-to-1 margin, its right to require spending cuts when negotiating the debt ceiling. I understand that Keystone and other provisions that the Republicans are talking about attaching to the debt ceiling are not related, but why not cut some spending?
The Republicans, we are for cutting spending, we're for reforming our tax code, we're for reforming our entitlements. What we're not for is negotiating with people who have a bomb strapped to their chest. We're not going to do that. So if they want to have a discussion about how we reduce our deficits, how we help the middle class, how we give them a better bargain, lift the debt ceiling, take the full faith and credit of the United States off the table, and let's have a discussion. I don't think that's not a particularly complicated thing. What they're doing is unprecedented. Imagine a scenario years from now, we agree to their demands now. A year from now, that maybe they want to privatize Medicare. Maybe 4 years from now, there's a Democratic Congress and a Republican president, and the Democrats come forward and say, if you don't raise taxes to levels that you don't want, then we're going to cause the economy to blow up. We cannot live in a world where one half of one branch of government can extract their demands that have been rejected by voters and can't pass under normal circumstances, or they're going to blow up the economy.
But Senator Obama voted against raising the debt ceiling.
He did, but and he's discussed that vote. But what he did not do is say, give me X, give me 100% on what I want, or we're going to default. That changed in 2011 with the House Republicans.
Do you acknowledge that President Obama bears any of the responsibility for this crisis in Washington right now, or do you really view it that the House Republicans are entirely responsible?
I believe the House Republicans are entirely responsible.
100%?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Senior.